No, va bene, ok, cosa farlo? Non c'è problema. Just anyway, to say thank you to Mario and to Mariella, and to also the city of Bari for a personal invitation which is very touching, but also because the fact that Bari is sort of recognizing this way McLuhan is quite a wonderful thing. It really is superb. There are 200 and some conferences in the world about McLuhan this year. So it's a lot, many people. For a man who was pretty well rejected by his own university, it's a sweet revenge. In any case, I'm just a couple of words about McLuhan to sort of refresh your memories about who he was. Most people know McLuhan because of two very famous statements. One is called "the medium is the message," which is a reasonably simple thing to explain, totally misunderstood at the time. But nevertheless, the medium being the message, meaning that a medium like television or the internet envelops you completely and changes you from within without you knowing it. And in fact, that's why the medium is more important than what it carries, whatever it says. And fundamentally, the story of mankind is based around three big media: the body, the text, and electricity. Not bad to have this context of the school of Alessandro Volta, because Mr. Volta has a lot to do with electricity, as you may all know. So it's important to recognize this connection. But electricity is now taking over. And McLuhan basically says the medium of electricity fundamentally is the message of culture today. Whatever you say, whichever medium inside electricity you use. So it's important to know this thing, and it's profound as an observation on what's going on. The second one is called, for me, has always been less instructive, but most people seem to think it's important. It's the idea that today we live in a global village. The idea of the world as a global village. So certainly we have a representation of the global village right here, with people coming from Poland, from Germany, from Finland. There were some people from Turkey. That's the global village. And in fact, Europe is a global village. Europe is in a state of continentalism right now, which is a stage before globalism. Globalism as a concept. So the global village is clearly happening, but people know him for this. The most beautiful thing for me that McLuhan ever said was, in the era of instant information, we wear all mankind as an extension of our skin. This is one of the most beautiful things. McLuhan talked by aphorism. I have 21 pages of aphorism in my bag right here, and all very humorous and very funny. I'll have occasion to give you a few. So McLuhan died in 1980, so it's also 31 years ago, and he was born on the 21st of July in 1911, and became a student of media almost by accident, just because he wanted to understand his students in the context of as a young professor in a United States university. He recognized that trying to teach poetry to students was wasted. They didn't have a clue. They didn't know anything about Matthew Arnold. They had no idea of how to recognize Shakespeare. It was simply beyond their understanding as young American students. And he thought, the thing that is their contemporary poetry is advertising, is the media. And he began to study advertising to see what real effect all this context had on the students. And that's what turned him into, he was essentially a professor, and turned him into a visionary of our world today. Let me give you an example. Two sentences from the first version of Understanding Media. Understanding Media was his most famous book, and there was also the Gutenberg Galaxy, and there were several books, but Understanding Media is the most famous one. And in 1962, he wrote these two sentences, which I'm quoting almost by heart. The next medium, whatever it is, will probably be an extension of consciousness. Translation: Internet. It will not be contained by television, but will contain television as its as its message, so to speak, as its content. And which is the case. Today, internet is actually swallowing television. The digital culture has been swallowing television since it came. It'll turn television into an art form. Anybody has an idea of what is television today as an art form? Especially the kids. YouTube. YouTube is the means of making television given to absolutely everybody. The way we use this to create stuff in the past. So that's a formidable prediction. But wait, there is more. The next one, to all of you, is banal today, but it's 50 years ago, it certainly wasn't. It will be an instrument of research and communication. We're still talking about the next medium, that is, quote-unquote, the internet. And it will make recuperation very, very easy. It will just bring all things back at your disposal, of course. The internet is that as well. The next two are absolutely amazing. It will obsolete the hierarchical organization of libraries. Now, why would he think about libraries? Well, because libraries are exactly where the information and this kind of next medium will really be. But it'll make this classification obsolete. That actually means that today, because of tags are the instructions that are given. I'll talk later about tags as McLuhan. I'm just talking as Derrik right now. But as I talk about tags, you will see are that which connects everything to everything, so you do not need to organize things in traditional classifications. So, cognitively, epistemologically, consciously, we have actually changed our mode of dealing with information quite fundamentally. So that's important. The next one is even more beautiful. It will retrieve from each one of us our encyclopedic talent. Come on, how could he predict Wikipedia? Wikipedia is anybody's chance of sharing one's personal talent with the rest of the world. I mean, that's really a prediction. The rest is banal. Why is it banal? Not 50 years ago, but because today we take it for granted. The rest is, you will be able to customize this information and distribute it instantly for a fee. Hence, an economy. He predicts the economy. Today's economy in France counts for 7.6% of the GNP, the gross national product, to internet and to the web. 7.6% is twice the amount that is contributed by agriculture to the French economy. So if that happens in France, you can be sure it's beginning to happen in Italy, it certainly has happened in Germany, it's certainly happening in Poland, it's happening everywhere, that the economy is taken over by this environment, completely new, which is an environment of information. Okay, I've said my word to introduce McLuhan. I think you know what kind of person he is. I want to just add that I did because this is a theatrical situation, and by the way, I wrote 2 theses on theater, so I like very much the occasion of dealing with theater. So I have rehearsed and I have written my script for the questions, my questions are answered in the style of McLuhan. It was very amusing for me, and you know theater, the feeling of impersonating, right? Of putting on somebody, of putting on an audience, of putting on a character. This is something that theater people know very well and love, right? So the idea was that I had never done this. It was a suggestion of Mariella that I become McLuhan. I have been professor teaching McLuhan, I've been the director of the McLuhan program at the University of Toronto for 25 years. I mean, you would think that I would have tried sometime to be, no, I have never tried to be McLuhan before. So this is all news, right, for me? It was a lot of fun. It was fun because I suddenly sort of imitated his style. It's not always good, right? It's just, but I imitated his style. So here I will have the questions, I will answer the McLuhan thing, but I made those answers short because I thought, I didn't know how long would the interview be. So the answers are short. They're short, and of course they're missing something. So what I think we should do is all reflect on the questions, then listen to my McLuhan answer, and then if you want to extend the answer and would like to expand on it, then perhaps you can ask questions or provide your own answer to the question. But these questions are wonderful. I want to thank the school and the students of Mariella, and thank the school for having provided such intelligent stimulation to my own thinking, and how much I've enjoyed thinking about this question, and how I will continue to enjoy thinking about questions, because one of the questions in the question is, don't you think we should have more questions? And so, really, it is a tremendous gift for me to have a chance to address these issues with you. So now I'm ready for the questions. Chi fa le domande? Ah, ok, ci siamo.
Prova. Do you think that the internet has created a difference in the actual perception of the world between the younger and older generation?
Okay, so you got that? Do you think that the internet has created a difference of perception between the younger and the older generation? So true. We're into generation crush. Natives and immigrants are now all turning into natives. Chiaro, sono lavorato 10 anni con lui, come no? So, what I mean here by generation crush, you remember the generation gap? Anybody here remembers the generation gap? That was a time when television was taking the children away from reading and from their destinies with private identities and building their career and having goals and working to... No. Those were the years where everybody let it all hang out. And the children would just, take over the world. They would run around the world. In those days, you could actually still safely run around the world in spite of, the nuclear threat. Yeah, you could. So the kids were just letting it all hang out. Then, of course, things tightened up later. But the idea was there was a generation gap. The parents did not get it. The parents hated rock music. Just couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand the styles of the new theater, the absurdist theater. This was bad. Difficult times. Big changes in theater, by the way, in those days. Right. So, the generation gap was the difference between the electrical kids and the literate parents. Today, we're in a generation crush, where kids and parents are actually on equal basis. The only difference is that the children are called digital natives, and the parents are called digital immigrants. The digital natives are born in it, and they take it for granted. That's the way the world is. The immigrants are feverishly learning how to deal with the systems. But you know that from the beginning of internet, the three groups which were the biggest user of the internet were the young university students and the university world, and of course the military. And the third group was the older people, because that third generation was that which had time and a bit of money to buy the equipment and take time to learn how to deal with this thing. Those were the immigrants, but the kids were born in it. So that's why we're now into a generation crush, where very soon we will all be natives. The more distribution there is of internet in a society, the more equal the generations and the sort of various levels of involvement with the new technologies appear. Sì. Va bene, allora io dicevo solo rapidamente che il generation crush, la domanda era se penso che c'è, se io, McLuhan, penso che c'è una differenza di percezione tra in rapporto a internet, differenza di percezione della generazione precedente e della generazione attuale. Io dicevo no, infatti adesso stiamo andando verso una contrazione delle generazioni, non una separazione, come quella degli anni 60 durante il generation gap. Il generation gap era una società di